What we're doing now is turning ordinary chipboard into rusty stuff. With the ones that are on there, I use the Vintage Photo Distress ink, the Vintage Photo Distress ink powder, and we're going to add some Vintage Photo stickles, which I didn't do. There's also just a Distress embossing ink, so we're going to play with it one time. It's not colored, I don't think. We'll find out in a minute, maybe. Cover it with the ink really good. And for demo purposes, we're not going to worry about all the little edges and all that kind of stuff right now. We can do that when we have more time. Heat gun. With any of the colors of the distress ink, because they have the embossing powder and the stickers and everything attached there. So anything you want to work in. And on the little board there, the first one just has the ink and embossing powder. You can do this and stop if you like that look. And I went on and added another layer of embossing powder and then more ink. And actually that last one over there on the bottom right, I actually used two colors of ink. I use the rusty hinge and the vintage photo. The rusty hinge by itself is a little bit too bright. This one's already cooled down, so before we put the second layer on there, you want to take your fingers and actually rub some of the sprinkle parts off where it's embossed on there. Kind of give it more dimension and layers. As I see how some of it's kind of worn down a little bit barer than others. Alright, and then we're just going to do the same process again. And you can apply the ink with this, or you can apply it with the applicator. The applicator at this point actually works a little bit better because you can actually fill in some of those edges and the bare spots and all that kind of stuff. And you can take, you know, a sanding tool or a file or whatever and do this if you want to, but I just did mine since I had this in my hand when I was doing this. You just want to knock some rough looking spots. You don't want like perfect circles and stuff like that. You want to ding it up a little here and there. Alright, now what we want to do is go back and take our Rock Candy Distress Stickles. I'm sorry, not stickles, crackle paint. I want to make a clean spot so I don't get all that in my paint. And you want to put this on, I think Tim Holtz's book says like frosting or peanut butter. So that means you want to spread it pretty thick. And with the crackle paint, you want to let it sit for a few minutes till it starts to crackle, and then you can finish drying it with the heat gun. The Distress Stickles, you're supposed to be able to start drying immediately if you want to. So this time, we're going to put the vintage paper stickles on it. And what I'm going to do is just get this going. We're going to put a little on here. And I suppose you could use a foam brush or something if you wanted to. It's pretty quick, just use your finger. And you don't have to do. And we're going to try this out with the stickles. You're supposed to be able to heat right away. So we're going to try it today. And now this is not the crackle stickles. This is just distress color. And it takes stickles a little bit to dry. this one looks like it's beginning to start to crackle a little bit. Now the rock candy paint here kind of has a finer crackle to it. The rock candy crackle paint has a finer crackle. The stickles in the crackle will kind of have a bigger crack pattern in it. But this is beginning to look like it's sort of bubbling up, making the little, you know, cracky texture in there. You're not going to see definite lines or anything. So we can go ahead and start drying on this one. Process. And with the one with the stickles, how fast it dries also depends on how thick you spread it on there. And that does a little bit better. And then you can just rub it down in there if you don't mind getting all nasty. And that makes it look like more. See, it's kind of beginning to build up now. And the more layers you do, the more dimension you get with it. Okay. And I still like to go back and ding it up a little. Just makes it look more like it's peeling and realistic. Okay, and then you want to put your stickles on. Your stickles paint, crackle paint. You want to put it on pretty thick. See that we've added a whole lot of dimension. You see the light hitting it? So we have a hinge and a key.